Alrighty, welcome back. Sorry about the last video. I wasn't really paying attention to the time, so it hit 15 minutes before I could sort of make a little outro there. But we're going to go ahead and start right where we left off, and I'm going to recap over the pen tool, or the brush tool actually, just because I don't feel like I explained it as well as I should have. But yeah, so like always, go ahead and bring out the Photoshop document, or open Photoshop, and then go grab your Photoshop file that we were working on previously, and I'll see you in just a second. Alrighty, so assuming you are up and ready to go, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this brush right here, the little brush tool. So it says paint custom brush strokes. So there's a lot of things you can do with this, a lot of creative work. You know, you might not use it as much as you'd expect in the ideal that you're going to be creating things for the laser, but you know, it's a good tool to have for the future, or sometimes adding things to your document, which I'll show you later, but right now I'll just give you kind of the basics. So right here at the top you see this little snowball looking thing. That is your brush. So the brush right now is a round brush. Just as you can see, I am painting along with it. This 20 right here is the size. So if you click on this little drop down arrow right here, you'll see 20px, which is pixels, and that is in relative size to your document. And so right here are some brush presets that I had previously. You might not have those unless someone else has been using Photoshop on your computer. But yeah, that's basically it. This right here, go ahead and ignore that, because that is for some higher level graphic artwork. A lot of people will use graphics tablets with the little pens, and so you can basically create custom angles to draw different lines for like overlay art and stuff like that. So we will not go over what that is right now. So hardness is basically once you so pay attention to the snowball up here. I'm going to call it snowball just because that's what I always say, but it's basically your brush. So pay attention to your brush up here. So it says hardness is at 100%. That means it's going to have these solid sort of edges like you see right here. So if I go down, we'll say 70, you can see it's starting to get a little fuzzier. I go down to 30, it's going to be even fuzzier. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it. But as you can see, if I scroll in here, the edges on this are going to be a little harder than this one. You can see how soft it is. So this now works with opacity. So if I turn my opacity down, it'll start to get lighter and lighter. So you can use that for like accent drawing and stuff like that. And those work together really nicely. So you can create some really cool stuff out of that. But generally speaking, we're going to be using this these solid lines here. So 100% on the hardness scale. Also bring my opacity up 100%. There we go. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff right here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to change the color one more time. So if you ever want to change the color of your brush, so right now I'm at blue, go ahead and just click on this top square right here at the bottom, and then we can scroll through multi-millions of colors, anything you want. So I'm going to do this light orange real quick. Look at that, college place colors. Anyways, this one down here is going to represent the stroke. I don't know if I explained that before, but you know, you can also change that color. But real quickly, what's really cool is you can have two colors at a time. Say you're painting something for any given example. So let's say I want something that is green or teal, minty green, and then my other color is going to be a nice yellow. So we'll choose this yellow right here. What you can do is the one on the top is going to be the current one that you have selected. So I'm painting with my green, making some polka dots. And then I can press this little switch arrow, and now it'll change my color to yellow. So I can start painting in yellow. So you can have multiple colors with you anywhere you go, and it'll be really cool. Alrighty, this is where the notes might come in handy. So a real quick tip if you're going to make a straight line. It's really hard with your mouse to stay as straight as possible because you might go, you know, make dips and stuff like that. So what you're going to do is anywhere that you click, so I'm going to click right here, and then I hold down the shift key and I click anywhere else on the page, that line is going to connect 100% perfectly straight. So this is going to work if I do that down here, over here. The other cool thing is, so once I've created a line, so I click, hold down the shift key, and then click again, we have a straight line. Now if I hold down shift again without clicking, and just go over here, it's going to connect here to here to here. If I hold shift again, and click up here, we just made a perfect triangle. Really cool key feature if you're trying to straighten out lines or make something cool like that. You know, we'll get to sort of the documents that you'll be putting into the laser. This will come in handy, so make sure you take note and pay attention to what we just did there. This also works with if I want to hold down shift and just click and drag. So if I click or hold down shift and click and drag, I can make a straight line just like that. So super cool feature that will come quite a bit in handy a little bit later. So let's go ahead and move on real quick. The eraser tool. Eraser tool's an eraser. I really don't know how to explain it much simpler than that. That's going to get rid of things that are on the layer you are currently on. So if I go ahead and start erasing, obviously this is going to erase our background. As I explained previously, those polka dot grid right there is basically the background. So that grid is represented as those gray and white squares. We call that transparency. So anytime you see that, don't freak out. That's just the transparent background. As always, to bring that back, Control Z and then Control Alt Z to do it as many times backwards as you want. What's next? So text tool. So text tool is going to be really cool. So basically you have all these options up here, and if you're going to write any sort of text, all you got to do is click, and you're going to have what we call lorem ipsum, and that's basically just a placeholder for text, so that really means nothing. But using that same text tool, you'll have this little marching ant bracket around it. Anything that you go over, and as soon as that little bracket disappears, that means you're ready to select your text. So if I go up here, and as soon as that disappears, now I can click and drag and highlight that text to change it. So there we go, flower. So anytime you want to change something about the text, make sure that you go and highlight it. So it has to be highlighted in order to change it. Just like in Microsoft Word, basically same idea applies. So we're going to go up here to the top and just look at what are the options that we have. So now that it's highlighted, we can go up here, and the first bar right here that says Comic Sans MS, that is the font. So I can pull down on this scroll wheel and look at all of the different preset fonts that we have right here. So I can change it to, you know, this one right here, whatever it is you want, just to practice. To the right of that we have bold and regular. This is sort of the other presets that go along with this right here. Obviously you can italicize and stuff like that. I don't know if the key commands work. No, they don't. Alright, so you'll get options right here if you'll be able to italicize or bold, different things like that. The next one over is font or font size. So you can type in any custom number, so let's say 50, and then enter. It'll change it to 50. Another cool thing is you see as soon as my mouse gets above this double T right here, you get the black arrows on either side. If I click and hold and then drag my mouse left and right, it'll size it accordingly. So that's just a fun little trick that you can use if you don't want to type in something specific and just see sort of like a live action change of the size. Next thing is just different presets for the text. You know, it's not going to do a ton. It sort of depends on what font you have, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Let's see here, left align, center align, and right align. These are the same things that you would find in Microsoft Word. So nothing crazy special, but I will show you another feature for these in just a second. And as always, we love our colors for our fonts. So let's go ahead and click this blue icon right here. It might be a different color depending on what your text is. So go ahead and click that. And then we have that fancy wheel of all these different colors. So if you want to change your color to a green, boom, there you go, it's green. Now it might look purple on the screen, depending on what your screen resolution is, but that's just because the black outline saying that it is selected does the inverse color. So right now it's going to look purple, until I take my move tool and I deselect and I have my green flower. Let's go ahead and highlight that again. Moving over, we have text options. You can do an arc lower, arc upper, arch, bulge, shell lower, shell upper, all these different things, and these are basically ways that the text will show up. So let's do an arch real quick. You see I can change the bend of it, I can make it go downwards, I can make it go upwards. There we go, just like that. So now I have my logo for my flower. So those are just some different fun things you can do with that. Now if I can actually select it again, it gets a little tricky afterwards. There we go. Also, instead of hitting this move tool to deselect, you also have this little check mark right here. If I select that, it'll deselect and basically confirm all the things that I've changed about it. But if I change some things about it and I don't seem to like it, all I can do is click this little negative button right here and it will deselect and also disengage any of the things that I changed. So moving on, if I take my little text tool right here and I click, hold, and drag, I'm going to create a text box. So click, hold, and drag, and then you will have this text box. So now I can start typing. Flower is green. And then I can hit my check mark to say that's what I want, or I can change the font, color. So let's go pink-ish. It is not selected. Always make sure it's selected. I just cancel it. Doesn't matter, but you see what I'm trying to say. The text box works just about the same every single time. You know, like I said before, click and hold, left click and hold, and then drag to any text box size you want. This is great if you're putting text on something. So you can go ahead and do that anytime you want. I can make it really small, really big. And then as soon as I start typing, it'll get rid of that filler text that I was talking about. The bigger the text box, the more of this random text is going to be set in there. So go ahead and ignore that. It'll keep it there until you have changed it personally. So that's kind of an awkward thing about Photoshop. But you know, it's really not that bad. All you have to do is just change the text when you're ready. So I'm going to select all of this text here by highlighting it. And then I'm just going to start typing some absolute nonsense. There we go. And that's how to make text. So to duplicate the text, so let's say I have flowers green here and I want to bring it down here, but I want to keep this here. What I can do is click and select it, hold down the Alt key, and then you will get this double arrow look right here, the white arrow. See, if I let go of Alt key, it won't do that. Hold down the Alt key, and then drag this text. It'll create a duplicate of that text. Now this works for anything that you've created. So this rose right here, I can do the same for that. I don't know if it'll work for these right here. No, see, that's on the thing. I can make a duplicate of this text right here. Boom, duplicate of the flower. Boom. Alt key. Then click on the object that you want to move. Boom, there you go. And always, if you want to get rid of that, Control Z to undo. And then Control Alt Z to undo multiple things at a time. Alrighty, so this video is coming to a close. The next one, we're going to go over the last tool, which is the shape tool, because I have quite a few things to say about this. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and understand a little bit more about this layers panel right here. So as always, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.